Welcome to Money Conversations with KJ. KJ is a lifelong entrepreneur who's made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and found his way back again. If you're looking for a sterile how-to, you're in the wrong place. KJ and his guests will walk you through real-life situations told by the people who live them, and they are as messy as they are inspiring. Each episode will offer lessons learned, advice on how to replicate successes and avoid pitfalls, and a new perspective to power your financial literacy. Far from a one-size-fits-all, this podcast can help you build a roadmap to your personal promised land. Milk and honey for some, whiskey and steak for others, and remind you that you're not alone on this journey.
Welcome back, everybody. Back again. We're doing episode 19. I'm kind of getting up there, so glad to have you here. So today, guys, I've got a really cool guest that I invited in here today, and his name is G. He goes by G, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself in a minute here. But I brought in G for a couple of reasons. G actually cuts my hair. He's my barber. And I thought he would have a really interesting story based on where he's at today through the few conversations. So I don't know a lot about G, and we're going to discover a lot together. So it's going to be fun. So G, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
So go ahead and introduce them to yourself a little. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm just the average barber out there, you know. I worked for AT&T prior to becoming a barber. So I've done the 9 to 5, I've done it all, you can say. I mean, I've worked construction, worked at a bank, anything that made me money pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying, I mean, not much of a, more than the average guy, but then again.
Well, let me ask you this. So I know that, we're in Vegas. You're not from Vegas. So one of the things that I do know about you, you're married, you got kids.
I do.
And you're out there, again, you're just the average American out there making a living, supporting your family, doing your thing. And so let's talk about, because this show's about financial literacy. This is about hopefully that you learn some things today and other people learn from you. And that's what I like to have is people that come out here because some of the experiences that you've had, and you just described some of the things you've done for a living, right?
Right.
AT&T, worked at a bank, but I know you through our conversations, I mean, you really enjoy cutting hair. It's just become like your passion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I often talk about, and we've all heard the adage, do what you love and you don't never work a day in your life, right? And I know you do have a passion for cutting hair, but I think I'm sure, and we're going to find out here, some of the life lessons that you learned early on. So let's start and go back because I think you're 33. Mm-hmm. So let's go back as far as you can remember anyway, when money meant something to you, like, man, I've got to make money because I want XYZ, whatever that was. Can you remember how far back that was for you? How old were you?
I'd probably have to say around the age of maybe 14, 15, right when you get to high school. Okay. Just like any other freshman, you're clueless, what or where you're going in life. You know what I mean? You're going from a different school, to a much larger, environment with, older kids, it's a rare world, for a teenager. Like, you start experiencing things such as, like name brands for clothes, certain things that you may or may not have that other kids do, just stuff like that. Yeah.
So let's talk about tradition with you and with money. So when you realize, like you said, I think you're right, probably around that age, freshman, 13, 14 years old, and high school is like when you're in 8th grade, high school can be, a little scary to go into.
Yeah.
Peer pressure starts happening, all these other things. But talk to me about with you and your parents, what did your parents teach you about money?
Money comes and goes, Yes, you can say work to accomplish and to get, as much as you want. But it's, it's always been, in my family, it's always been family first. So, I mean, you got to do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're bringing the bread home, that's all that matters. And, always family first.
So can you remember a specific money lesson that mom or dad taught you?
There's plenty of them. I mean, growing up, in a household of, with 4 siblings, all together, you know, 4 of us, it is just hard. I mean, wanting to have, you know, what other kids had at the time, you know, whether if it's the name brand shoes, the clothes, the toys, you know, and then, you know, I was taught that I'd have to work for it, you know, like you can have anything you want, but you have to work for it. So it doesn't come to you.
So mom and dad didn't just give you money all the time. Here, go buy whatever you want, this or that. So they gave you some money lessons as far as, sounds to me like money was probably a little tight around the house as you were growing up. Is that right? It
was. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I came, you know, from a Hispanic household where, you know, my dad was the only one that worked. My mom always, you know, was there for us. She was, you know, she was the mom and dad, basically. I mean, my dad was out there, you know, getting the bread and whatnot. And then she was always there, the teacher, you know, the dad, whatever we needed, she was there for us.
So one of the things I like to teach is like, with a lot of people, we learn our financial literacy or things about money. Mm-hmm. And even if our parents don't sit us down and give us actual lessons of money, we all learn subconsciously by watching our parents, right?
Right.
And in your life, in your home was dad was the breadwinner, mom took care of everything else, the kids, the home, and everything else, right? Which is very commendable for your dad, because in today's world, typically both parents have to work, you know, to really get by, and or if you want to get ahead, right?
Right.
Because if only one parent works, that means probably you're just, you know, you're struggling to just stay afloat, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And in your case, so the lessons learned at an early age was, man, you got to work for what you want.
Correct.
Is that right?
Pretty much.
And so your wants started at around being a freshman, about 14 years old. You know, because I teach the lesson to my kids and other people, and you have kids now. So it's your responsibility to teach your kids, right?
Correct.
And the first lesson at that age that we should be teaching our kids is the difference between wants and needs. Because everybody wants everything, right? As a 14-year-old, hey, I want the best shoes because, you know, my best friend's dad's wealthy and he bought them or whatever, right? Or I want the clothing, the bike, the car, whatever. And so, but you need, right? We need certain things in life. We need food, shelter, clothing, right? We need the basic necessities, and don't waste your money on wants when you got to make sure that the needs are getting taken care of. So it sounds like your mom kind of taught you that lesson early, that if you want something, you have to go work for it.
Right.
Right? What else did she teach you besides that? Or was it your dad?
It was a combination of both, I would say. I mean, even though my mom was always there for us, you know, and my dad being the breadwinner, I mean, he pretty much made it clear, you know, he gave everything he had and whatever he was able to. So if, you know, I never lacked any kind of clothes or any shoes, or I always had the toys, you know, that he was able to provide for me, or whatever he provided for me. But, you know, the one thing that he always taught me is that, you know, if I'm only able to provide this for you and you want something else, then you need to find a way to go and get whatever else you need. You know what I mean? Like the extra.
You know what I call that?
What is it?
I call that a side hustle.
There you go.
Right. So even in life today, right, you cut hair for a living, and it's based on your clientele and whoever might walk through that door on any given day. And if that's not enough, right, we all need a side hustle.
Of course. Like
probably, I think you mentioned to me one of our first conversations when you were working at like AT&T, cutting hair was a side hustle.
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, it started off as a, you know, like me, it was more of me not finding the right barber, I guess. You know, like that's really what kicked me into, you know, becoming a barber, because you know, I would go to my regular barber, and, you know, or even, it didn't matter who I went to. That's just who it was. Maybe I was picky or whatnot. Call it what you want.
Right.
But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I always put myself in the client's shoes, like, you know, because it came to the point where sometimes if my hair didn't look right, or if I didn't like how my appearance looked, it just killed the whole vibe, you know, like I wasn't confident enough, you know, whether if it was going for an interview or talking to the girl, or, you know, or just being at work, you know, it just, to me, it made a difference.
Right.
So not being able to have the haircut how I wanted it, you know, just kind of pushed me into becoming a barber. So, you know, it was always just more of like a thing on the side, but then eventually became what is now my,
your full-time job.
full-time job.
Yeah. So as we go back, and so you were saying, so basically around 14 is where you realize, man, the things I want, I've got to go work for, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about, or talk to the audience at that age in your mindset, if you can remember, what else did you believe money was for, and what else did you think you wanted to do with money?
At that point, I probably didn't know much. I just knew that it could give me whatever I wanted or whatever my parents couldn't give me. So whatever I got from them, if I was able to get a little money on the side, whether if it was doing the neighbor's yard or, whatever it is that I did to get that extra money, it just meant that I would be able to then go and get whatever they weren't able to give me.
Okay, so working for money, the whole purpose at that point, your mindset, when there's no right or wrong, and this is what just people do across the world, not just America, is that we start learning at that age that I want this, so I have to go trade time for something over here to make money to get this, right? Mm-hmm. But can you remember, did you ever get any lessons that mom and dad or anybody, maybe you got a mentor, an aunt and uncle or something, or grandpa, that said, hey, stop spending your money, start saving your money, and or even better, start investing your money? At what age, or have you yet had those lessons?
It was tough, to be honest. Just because of the fact that my dad was always at work, and, my dad pretty much told me, like, you gotta, be able to provide and have everything covered, but then always have a little extra just in case, for a rainy day or whatnot. But, it just, I don't know if he was ever educated about, investing or anything like that, but it wasn't until high school that, I started learning about the economics and, investing and stuff like that. So, I don't blame him, if it...
Oh, no, for sure. I always say, I teach it that parents can't teach what parents don't know.
Right.
And this is not bad. This is just what is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you just mentioned that it wasn't until in high school and you had economics and you started to learn then about some things, right?
Right.
About investing and putting money away. And you use the term, which a lot of people use, a rainy day fund, right? Mm-hmm. Which the professionals will call an emergency fund. You know what I mean?
Right.
And after an emergency fund, like I teach, that we also strive to become financially independent, which means when you save your money for an emergency fund should have minimum $1,000 in it, right? Because statistically across America today, I got to remember the numbers. It's pretty high. It's like 60-something% of people can't cover a $400 emergency expense. They don't have $400. So if you had a $1,000 emergency, because emergencies happen to everybody. And when I talk about emergencies, would it be an emergency? We were just talking a minute ago. If the transmission on your truck just went out. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's an emergency because that's how you get to and from work. That's how you're going to get where you got to go. So I got to get this thing fixed. And if you don't have the money, but hey, you know what? I got my emergency fund here, and my emergency fund's going to now pay for the repair on my truck. Now I'll fix my truck, and guess what? Now I have to refill up my emergency fund.
Right.
Now, getting yourself to being financially secure means whatever your monthly bills are, and this is for everybody out there, and everybody has their own number of what your monthly bills are, and we all know our numbers, so I'm just going to use round numbers. Let's just say your monthly bills, your rent, your car payments, gas, electricity, everything, all in is $3,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. That means you need to have 6 months of that put away. So 6 times 3 is 18. You would need $18,000 put away in a separate account that's working, mm-hmm. right? And we'll talk about the types of accounts that those could be in, but that money needs to be set aside. And I don't call that an emergency fund because an emergency is just that smaller amount. Again, your car broke your arm, got to the doctor, something happened where you just need access money right now. Once you get financially secure, right, in life, now you don't worry. And 2020 is a great example of this because in 2020, how many people lost their jobs?
Many of them.
A lot. It was 20% unemployment in this country. And a lot of these people really, really hurt because they were going and living paycheck to paycheck because they were living on their wants instead of their needs.
Right.
And they were spending so much money on wants instead of being conservative, funding your emergency account, then saving your money to get financially secure. Because do you think if someone had, let's say at that $3,000 a month level, they saved that $18,000, they lost their job, are they going to freak out? No, they're not going to freak out because like
they have 6 months.
They got 6 months to figure this out, right?
Yeah.
And in most cases, if you lost your job, all right, it's going to take me a month to go get a job, get right back in the cycle. I'm going to be fine. Our bills don't stop just because we can't work.
Correct.
Right? The creditors don't care.
They don't.
You owe me, you pay me, right? So knowing that if you got yourself to that position of financially secure, you're going to sleep better, you're going to your whole life will be better. No stress in your life with money, right? You can stress about other things, love, kids, and everything else, but money's not going to. Yeah. But money is the number one thing that people stress about. It's the number one thing people argue about. It's money. So once you can get that into play, now understand that $18,000 is a lot of money. And so I'm not saying that like, hey, you got to save every dime till you got 18,000. For some people, it could take you 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right, to save that money. But picture and imagine when you have it there and you are officially what's called financially secure, how much better your life will be on a daily basis. Not worrying about paying the power bill, the phone bill, the mortgage, the rent, whatever it may be, right?
Right.
So that's always the first. And so that's why as I teach financial literacy, finding out if people all across America, and I've been in at least 50 different cities talking to people about this, and I find that like no one ever talks to them. And that's why my first question, what did mom and dad teach you? And mom and dad teach us very basics, typically.
They do, yeah.
But the reason the wealthy stay wealthy is because they teach their kids.
Right.
Right? And if your mom and dad weren't wealthy, then they couldn't teach it. So it is definitely our responsibility to do that. So for you, for tradition, and you're doing fine. Listen, I think your profession that you're in is a great profession because the economy can affect you, because I'm going to cut my hair every 3 weeks regardless.
Well, and then that kind of brings us back to like, you know what I mean? Like for most people, or at least I was one of them, where, you know, if my hair wasn't, you know, where I wanted it to be, I didn't have the confidence and boost, you know what I mean? Or whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of people like me out there, you know what I mean? So yeah,
there is.
That's true. I mean, I don't want to brag about it, but you know, it is safe to say that, you know, like during this pandemic that we're going through, I've experienced, you know, like a stability of work, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's slowed down a little bit, you know, or whatnot, but that's understandable because like you said earlier, I mean, 20% of people were now unemployed. So 20% of the population, you know, had to cut back on those wants, you know, and then had to basically, I guess, determine whether if the haircut was a want or a need, I guess, you know, so that kind of affected me in a way, but not too much.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
And I think about, especially for you as a barber, right? And in today's world, the look that guys go for, God, I think you guys make so much more money today than the guys that cut hair in the 70s. Because in the 70s, guys grew their hair long. They didn't get haircuts.
Well, not only that, it was, you know, it was pretty much just the one style, I guess, you know, either high and tight or military cut. And, you know, it wasn't really too much of, I guess, diversity, you know, I should say, as it is now.
But because to keep your haircut high and tight, I mean, you're talking 3 weeks at the most before you got to go back, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, I definitely spend more money cutting my hair than my wife cuts hers, because women only cut their hair
once every so often.
Well, yeah, maybe every 18 months or something, or they get a slight trim. So it's definitely a solid profession to be in. The only thing with your profession that would be a downfall would be you work with your hands.
Right.
God forbid you break a finger, or I mean, you hurt your hand where you can't work. Right.
Yeah.
This is why it's really my daughter does the same thing, right? She's in the beauty field also. She does eyelashes and hair coloring and all that stuff. And I talked to her about like, you really need to get yourself financially secure as soon as possible, because your whole livelihood evolves around your hands. Mm-hmm. And if you're out there and for some whatever reason accident happens and you can't use your hands, then you can't what?
Can't work.
You can't work. Right.
Can't make
so
money.
You got to be careful of the activities you do, that, you know, you don't go break a hand.
Right.
Right. So even more so to keep in mind that it's that important to become and put that money away and become get that emergency fund in there, the rainy day fund, and then more importantly, get that financially secure account going. So talk to me about goals. And I know we had a little conversation about goals at one of the haircuts that I sat in your chair with. Was how young were you when you realized that you made a goal, or did you stick to a goal, or who even talked to you about goals and goal setting?
It kind of goes back to school, because, it always has been, I feel like, because even, ever since you're in kindergarten or first grade, they always ask you, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but then at that point, I don't know. It's more of what's the right word that I'm looking for? It's more of a dream rather than an action, you know what I mean? Like, because you're just thinking, like, yes, I would like to be this, but then once you put it into perspective and you start, taking action on it, and then it becomes something else. So, when do you think you learned that lesson? When did you discover the difference between a dream and a goal? Those are two different things, and a lot of people confuse them. They really, really do. And so until you truly understand the difference between a dream, or you can turn a dream into a goal through, like you mentioned, action, right? Right. You have to take action towards it. So when did that, I'm just trying to understand for you personally, when did that come about when you figured that out? I don't know. I think I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And this is why I wanted to have you on, that we could have this conversation. Not only are you going to share your story, that hopefully I can, enlighten you on some of these things. And when you leave here today, your mindset starts to have a shift of how you think and act with your time and your money, right? And goal setting is really like the foundation of where our financial being will become. And it's just a fact. They've done studies on it, that if you don't have goals, most people who don't have or set goals or even write them down or anything, they typically don't get ahead in life financially. They just don't.
I don't think I have a specific age when I realized, what my goal was. Because like I said, I'm still trying to find it and achieve the goal, which to be honest, like my long-term goal has always been just stability, financial stability, because at the end of the day, we're only temporary here in this world, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to take any of my finances or any of my money with me when I go to the better life, you know what I mean? So I'd rather just be comfortable and, not have to worry about, like you said, the bills, or, if the bill's paid or if not, at this point, like my goal is to just have enough money to where I don't have to worry about that, or where I can just pay my bills months in advance. You know what I mean? And just have it.
Which is great. So this is a mindset that you have with money, right? That your mindset is, I just want to have enough where I don't worry about it. So the difference between having that mindset, right, versus and without sounding bad, which is a closed mindset, and I'd rather see you have an open mindset, which a growth mindset, which is, man, if I learn how to really develop goals, write goals, and then write the path to my goal that I can achieve it, you will get there. Okay. And the number is irrelevant, because everybody's number is different. No one says that your goal has to be that you need, like, I'll just pull a number out of the sky, $1 million, right? Yeah. Your goal could be like 20 grand. I have 20 grand. My living expenses are low. I'm good. I'm happy. I don't need the $1 million. But there's going to be other people out there, and you and I probably know these types of people that are like, I want the $1 million. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is great. You can want the 1 million, the 10, the 100 million, whatever. And we can all get there. It's just learning how to get there. And that's the process. And the whole purpose of financial literacy is teaching you how to play the game, the rules of the game to get to your goals. But if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know that goal, it's like driving a car blindfolded. God knows you wouldn't do that. Yeah. Right? And every time you get in your car, there's a destination. That's the goal. Right. Today, where did you leave the shop from the shop here, or did you from your house here?
From my house here.
So you knew from the house you left, right, that you probably stuck my address in your GPS, and it told you how to get here. Right. So that's a roadmap. I'm getting from point A to point B. I don't know how to get there, but in today's technology, I punch it in my phone, and it shows me a route how to get here. That's exactly how you should treat your life with goals. Like, I want to get here, but how do I get there? I don't know yet. And so you just have to reverse engineer it. You make so many dollars per day, per month to get to where you want to go, right? And so learning that out there, the importance of goals to create those little mini roadmaps to get where you want to go. Otherwise, consider yourself driving blind. That's a different perspective. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay. So, that being said, so we talked about where you got up to about the high school days, and then you finished high school. And I know you're married and you got a wife now. Talk to me about when with your wife that you have now, we all started dating. Nobody ever starts talking about money when you first start dating, right? You fall in love and do these things. What was your wife's mindset with money? Did you guys, at what point in your relationship did you talk, and what did she bring to the table, so to speak? Did you learn things from her about money that you had some like aha moments about, or was it reverse? You had to teach her all this stuff.
Well, kind of like both. I mean, I've learned from her, just as much as she's learned from me. But being that we kind of both came from a similar household where, like your parents didn't really talk to you about, finances. It was kind of like we were both learning at the same pace. You know what I mean? Like, we kind of made the same mistakes. We had no clue. Wow. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think we kind of just.
So you're going through the journey together, learning.
Pretty much.
And again, we meet the people we fall in love with. We don't know their backgrounds until we fall in love and we talk to them. But you just described kind of the average American household where there are a lot of parents out there that don't talk to their kids about money because they don't know how. And the subject of money sometimes is as hard as the subject of sex, right? You try to talk to your 14 or 16-year-old about sex, it's very uncomfortable. But at 14 to 16, they want to go out there and experience it, right?
World, yeah.
And you're like, man, I got to have that talk. Oh, man, we dread it as parents because what's your oldest kid now? 6, right? So it's early yet, but that day's coming.
Yeah, eventually.
Well, you're going to have that talk, right? Whether it's a boy or a girl. And it is an uncomfortable talk, but so is money can be, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And here's what happens that I'm finding here through conversation after conversation is that if we don't talk to our children about money, the way they learn is the same way you learned. They're watching mom and dad. If mom and dad are savers, they'll be savers. If mom and dad are spenders, they're going to be spenders. And what do you want your child to be?
A little bit of both, but mainly a saver.
Mainly a saver, an investor. Learn how to make your money make money.
Right.
See, right now you trade time for money.
Correct.
We want that to shift. We want over time, instead of us trading time for money, we want our money working for us. So now you don't have to go out and trade the extra time for it. You cut hair later because you like cutting hair. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you really enjoy it.
For the passion. For
the passion of it.
Right.
Because you've made enough money and you've put it to work that your money works 24/7, 365. Money doesn't sleep.
Right.
Right? And so these are lessons that you can teach your children at an early age to really help them. To really help them when they'll be so much further ahead from their peers. I've got a good friend of mine. He's got a 5 and a 6-year-old. He's teaching them how to play the stock market at 5 years old. They literally have charts in their rooms. They don't have posters of the latest, pop artist or whatever. He goes, no, they got charts in their rooms. And they go find stocks. Dad, this is good stock. I did my homework. I want to buy this stock. He looks at it. He's an expert at it. Nice. That's a good find. Okay, let's go put $X in it. Right. So he's teaching them how to make money instead of us always trading time for money, which is what most people do. Right. Most people have jobs. Right.
The average American.
That's all we have is jobs. So let me ask you, with yourself or since you've been married, have you and your wife sat down and actually have some sort of a financial plan? Or do you kind of and this is again, this is what it is. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Or do you, like a lot of Americans, we just wing it? Like the checks come in, this is what's due, I got to pay it, this is what's left, let's go out to dinner.
I guess to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, like I said, I still don't have a clue of what I'm doing, but I guess the motto that I've always lived by is, I'm going to take care of my responsibilities first, and then whatever's left, then, you either invest, play, or whatever you want to do with it. But, that's the one thing, I guess that's the biggest lesson that my dad taught me, you know what I mean? Like you got to make sure that your responsibilities are taken care of, and then whatever else then you choose to do with your money, then, as long as your household is taken care of, then you're good.
So I'm going to share with you the Warren Buffett lesson, right? This is in Warren Buffett. Everybody knows who Warren Buffett is, right? Very wealthy guy, done very smart with money. So Warren Buffett teaches that pay yourself first before you pay your bills. Meaning, what this means is, so you get your paycheck, it's $X. We'll just use round numbers again. So you get your paycheck, it's $1,000. Like, pay yourself first means he suggests to you 10% paying yourself, meaning that 10%, that $100 needs to go into some sort of investment or investments, multiple, right? The bills are always going to be there. You're always going to have rent or mortgage. You got to eat. You got to pay everything else. But until you learn how to pay yourself first, you will trade time for money until you die. So your dad taught you the lesson of being responsible. That's what that lesson was. Be responsible, son. Pay your bills. Because we know a lot of people out there don't pay their bills. Right? They pay them when they want to pay them or when they can pay them, that kind of thing. And if you learn in life how to pay, because there's nobody more important than you.
Right.
Nobody. You are the most important. So if we know and we treat ourselves as, I'm the most important person on the planet, I need to pay myself first. Everybody gets paid after that. Okay?
Right.
Don't save what's left after what you spent. Spend what's left after you saved. That will get you financially ahead. That philosophy right there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
These are the things that you can go back, talk to your wife about, teach your kids when they're getting close to that age. I think you should definitely start talking to your kids about money. And if you go home and ask your 6-year-old, tell me about money. What do you know about money? And you're going to find the answers that they give you. One, they're super funny.
Right.
Yeah. It's Comedy Central. But it'll give you a perspective of what your child has learned from watching you. And it makes us as parents really start to change our thought process, our mindset with money. Tell me you'll do that.
I will, definitely.
And do it with your wife. Ask. Say, I said on this podcast, you don't have to tell them what it's about, but I got a question for you. What do you know at 6 years old? What do you know or understand? And pull a $1 bill out about money. What is this? And see what they tell you. Yeah. You're probably going to get a big, I think you'll laugh because the ones when I've done it, they just say kids say silly things anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whatever comes to their mind first.
Whatever comes to their mind first. So, I've talked to you about what I do and I've got my program coming out. Do you think my program, which is having building a roadmap for financial success, would help you?
Definitely. Yeah. Because like you mentioned earlier, if you have the map or, the directions on where to go, you won't get lost.
Exactly.
You'll reach your destination. And, and if your goal or destination is to be financially free, or set, then, it's a good idea to have a roadmap, I would say.
Yeah, because, you're 33. I've just sat with too many people that are 50, whatever. And that's when they figure out, man, I wish I'd have known this 20 years ago.
Yeah. Right?
It's always 20/20 hindsight. And the one thing we'll never get back in life, time.
It's time.
And money grows on time, right?
Yeah. Money grows on time.
I'll teach you the rule of 72 one day on how that works and how vitally important time is. It's important on many levels, but financially leveraging time through the right investments will ensure when you are 50, whatever, or 60, that, hey, you know what? I'm financially good. I'm not, because I'm sure you probably know people, and I know plenty of people that are, early 60s or whatever, 70s, and they still have to work.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They have to work.
Right.
It's like, it's not even an option. Right?
Yeah, it's almost sad.
It is sad, and nobody wants to be in that position.
Right.
Ever. So, well, that's cool. So, tell me, share with me. I mean, I asked that question, but I didn't give you a chance to answer that. You and your wife sat down, and everybody budgets. I get that, right? But what type of financial planning have you guys done together, or maybe you did it on your own? And what was that, and why did you do that?
I honestly don't know if I have any kind of plan or like if we've ever sat down. I mean, again, I've always just kind of followed, like my dad's footsteps, like I've always been, like the one that's taking care of the bills and whatnot, make sure that everything's, good in the house, bills are paid, there's food in the fridge and whatnot. But, I to be honest, I don't think I've ever sat down and talked to her about, what my goals are, or, to see what her goals are. We have one goal in common, which is to raise our kid and teach him, to be a good person. But when it comes to money, I don't think we've really sat down and talked about it.
That's interesting. So for you guys that are out there listening, and I'm sure the people that are out there listening, there's a lot of you that are in the same boat. And it sounds to me like you had great parents that taught you the right from the wrong and how to be responsible. Awesome and great. But that's only half of life, right? We want to enjoy our time where we're on this planet. We want to make enough money to give back, because giving back makes us feel good, and it is the right thing to do. So it's okay that if mom and dad didn't teach you, because we're going to go back to where I said in the beginning, mom and dad can't teach what mom and dad don't know. It's not good. It's not bad. It's what is, right? But it is our responsibility when we become parents to, I got to take it to the next level. Dad taught me how to be responsible, but is your dad still alive today?
Yeah.
And he works?
He does.
Okay. Is he retired?
He's working on it.
He's working on it. Yeah. So even going back and talking to dad, because you'd be surprised. I've talked to plenty of people that go learn things about financial, and they have to go teach mom and dad. The roles have reversed.
Right.
Instead of, hey, you should have taught me this when I was younger, but you didn't because you couldn't, because you didn't know how. That's cool. But I've learned it. I can help you now.
Right.
We can always do that also, is go back and do that. I teach plenty of people that are older than me how to get to where they want to be. And again, the number is irrelevant. It's different for everybody. There's no right or wrong number. It's just whatever you want out of life. So, yeah, I definitely would like, because again, you cut my hair roughly every 3 weeks. And you just cut my hair last week. So I'll see you in about 2 or 3 weeks. So what I want to talk to you about when I see you in 2 or 3 weeks is, did you go home and ask your 6-year-old, because the other one's young, right?
We only have one.
The other one.
Yeah.
6. And you're going to have a real kick out of that one. and then talk to your wife. Hey, let's really talk about our future and how we're going to get to where we want to get. And yes, we're already responsible and we pay our bills. We put a few bucks away, but what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing? What's the end of our movie? What's it look like?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. You're right. I now that I'm sitting here with you, like I honestly never really put that much thought into it. It just, and like you said, you can't really blame yourself because, you never were told what to do, or, if you were told what to do or taught a certain thing, then that's really all you know.
Exactly. That's why I talk about tradition, because tradition is exactly that. There's so many people that, again, all good, hardworking people, but were never really taught. And that's what got my passion into teaching this, is because too many of you great people, Americans, but this is one of the reasons America itself, I'm talking about the U.S., is the gap between the wealthy and the poor, right?
Right.
5% of this country owns 95% of the wealth, right? There's a reason for that. And it just basically comes down to knowledge of learning how to play the game. And the wealthy teach their kids so they know how to play the game, right? If you don't learn it and then teach your child generationally, right, no one's ever going to become wealthy, because no one ever taught you how to become wealthy.
Right.
But you're my barber, so I'm going to teach you. I'm going to share all that stuff with you every time I cut your hair. And when I finish building my program out, you're going to get a copy. So I want to see you down the road doing things with your money that make you feel good, helping people, helping your family, helping your siblings, and anybody else that you might know. Like, guys, we got to talk about this. It should not be taboo.
Right.
And I think you may agree, like, it almost felt taboo.
For the most part,
mom and dad didn't talk about it. Because people don't like talking about money sometimes because they're embarrassed. Sometimes they're embarrassed they don't have any. Sometimes they're embarrassed they have too much. Mm-hmm. Like, I have a lot, you don't have any. I don't want to embarrass you that I have a lot of money. It goes both ways.
It does.
It does go both ways.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And I don't mind tell people if you have money, you're like, just don't ask me for any. Right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't loan money. I may give you some money, but I ain't gonna loan you no money. I mean, I've given money away. I just don't loan it because you set yourself up for heartache.
Right.
If you loan money. If someone comes to you and wants to borrow $100 or $200 or whatever, and you have it, you're like, here. If you can give it back whenever, great.
Cool.
If you don't, because if you go, people want to tell you, come borrow $100, I'll give it back to you Friday, and then you don't see them for 3 weeks. Now it's a month, 2 months. They dodge you.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, I loaned you $100 and you went MIA on me. I thought we were friends, right?
Right.
Has that happened to you?
All the time, yeah.
See? And so just be upfront. Say, yo, bro, because if you can actually afford to lend someone money, I mean, never give somebody the rent money. You're not going to give anybody that money. But if you can afford to give somebody loan, you're thinking in your mind loan, the $100 as an example, then just say, here you go. Whenever you can.
Yeah.
Give back.
Makes sense, yeah, because if not, like you said, you're going to set yourself up
you
for a
set
headache.
up and they dodge you, and then you're like, you ruin friendships that way.
It's true.
And or like, look, don't pay it back. Don't pay me back. Do me a favor. One day you loan somebody that money.
Pay it forward.
You
right?
pay it forward.
Exactly.
If we all would go through life like that, man, it would be so much easier and better and happier. So, yeah, that's why I tell people, don't ask to borrow money. Just if you need, typically that in small amounts, if they're hungry or they got to pay the power bill, or I'll help you. I don't have a problem with that. But it's a good lesson. Listen, as we sit here, I think at your age, you're still learning, and there's plenty to learn. I mean, I got 2 kids that are a little older than you, and I teach them, and it's not easy.
Well, I don't think there's an age, you know what I mean? Like, you never start learning, or stop learning, I should say. I mean, you can always expand your knowledge.
Money's not prejudice. It doesn't care if you're 5 years old or 105 years old. It doesn't matter, Money, we all going to use it the same way. So, I really want to thank you for coming out. It was a good conversation. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Here's G, raising his young family, trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out is what he's doing. And I think you learned a couple of things today, G.
I sure did, yeah. And I mean, there's a lot to take home, to be honest. I mean, and like you said, just from talking to your kids and sitting down with your wife, setting the goals, making sure that you build that roadmap and executing, that dream so that it becomes the goal.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for coming out. Guys, remember out there, hey, listen, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Plenty more conversations coming out. I do them every week, every Wednesday they get released. So I'll give you all a heads up when G's is going to come out. But like I said, he's number 19. I think number 12 comes out on Wednesday. So it'll be a few weeks. But again, thanks for coming out.
It was a pleasure, man.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
You guys take care, and I'll talk to you next week. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that episode. Really enjoyed making all these episodes for you. Remember, we're just having conversations with people's journey with money and the things they did right with it, the things that did wrong with it, and how did they really come about getting their mindset with money. So every episode's different. We all have a good takeaway from them. So do me a favor, hit the like button, smash the like button, and subscribe to my channel, because every episode that I do is going to be different, as all our journeys are different. So you guys take care, and we'll talk to you next week.